All right, and hello. Welcome to What Was That Radio and a conversation with Spare Parts of Broken Hearts, in particular, the band leader, Sarah. My name is John Williams of whatwasthatradio.com. It is a place to discover true modern rock. I'm talking over 5,000 bands that have released songs in the last 5 years. We go back no older than 2017, and we have 90% of the playlist is from 2020 release on. I may have changed my camera since, you probably don't notice at all. I do. This Logitech is making me look like Casper the Ghost, and I'm kind of into it. Thanks for your time. This was a wonderfully warm and utterly brilliant conversation with Sarah of Spare Parts of Broken Hearts. Enjoy. Hello.
Hi, John.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Where are you right now?
Well, it's probably kind of loud for you. There's cars driving by, but I'm in a park by my house because there's shade and it's hot.
Oh, right. So you're in LA right now currently, or what?
Yeah, it's specifically on the east side in Echo Park.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm in Victoria on Vancouver Island in Canada.
Oh, okay, so we're close to each other then,
Yeah, same time zone, which we
huh?
certainly have been debating for weeks now. I was just double checking with you. Because how were the shows that you did then? Well, tell me about the festival or what it
Say
was that you played
say
this
one more
last
time.
week. What were the
Wait, say that
shows that
one
you
more
played
time.
this last Oh, what were the shows that you played this last weekend?
Well, it was not this past weekend, but the weekend before. I can't see your face anymore, by the way. Can you see me?
Oh, trippy. I can see you, yeah, but there was a bit of lag.
Oh, okay. But you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. We played at the Echo 2 weekends ago for a little festival that went on there. It was called Out of Mind Fest, and it was like five, maybe six bands total. Um, and the Echo is like, I don't know how familiar you are with like the East Side or LA in general, but the Echo is like kind of a staple for touring acts and local bands to be playing at. And we hadn't played there since, far before the pandemic, so it was cool to get back there. Saw a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the context because I've spoken with two or three bands out of LA in the last few months, and you get different pictures of the different communities that they utilize or that they live and flow in. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if you're familiar with bands like Bexley or uh, Holy Wars
Oh
and
yeah,
Pep Squad and that
yeah,
lot. So they've all become dear friends in the last few months here,
yeah.
and it's always fascinating about just because you did you start in LA or did you end up moving to LA?
No, no, I was in Long Beach, which is only like 30, 40 minutes south of here, but for being still in LA County, it's a very, very different community of music and people there. So I was there for since on and off since 2005. And then I moved here about 4 years ago and decided to make that move because Long Beach doesn't have a lot of like proper venues to play. And I felt like we were just kind of playing the same circuit and in LA, like any night of the week, you can go see a show or play a show, and there just wasn't that opportunity in Long Beach as much. Even though I really, really will always love Long Beach. I always felt like I didn't really feel drawn to LA like as a person or like my spirit specifically, but there's so much going on here, and we were really embraced by the music community here. So I just decided to make the move.
So if we strip that back even further, then I've done I don't do too much research with bands that I stumble into and then just fall in love with, and I'm so galvanized by Spare Parts of Broken Hearts.
Thank you.
And the two or three blogs or interviews that I've cheekily checked out suggest that you're in your early teenage years, and that's when a true spark of direction of I want to go for this appeared. But if we
Mhm.
go back even further to that, and you were saying that there was some musicians in the family, what are those earliest impressions of music that inspired you to try something?
Okay, well, so my parents divorced when I was 9, which is, everyone's parents are divorced. So I was going back and forth between my mom and my dad's house, and my dad was always working. So I have a brother who's 3 years younger than me, and my dad always had like musical instruments around the house, but never really got like really great at one specific thing. So because he was gone a lot, we were left home a lot, and right around the age of like I'd say 13, he had this extra bedroom in his house, and he just like, I really wanted a drum set. Drums have always been my favorite instrument. I just am totally okay with admitting that I'm in no way understanding how to play them. So but my brother and I, we would jam together, and he would play guitar, I'd play drums, and then we'd switch. We were listening to bands like Descendants and Nirvana and the Smiths, and we would just try our best to like, figure it out and have fun. And that just kind of became what we did when we went to dad's house, because we didn't have anything else to do. So that's how it started.
And at what point did you decide that, okay, this is a band now?
Um, well, I kind of got a late start. Like, I've always been, I wouldn't say so anymore so much, but I've always been kind of shy. And I didn't know, like when I was little, I always like had these visions of being a singer and you know, performing to some capacity. But I was always really shy, so I got like really good at being a bass player. And so I went to college because I thought the only reason I went to college was not because I cared about school, it was because I wanted to play basketball. And so um, I went to school specifically to play basketball. And then when I was like just turning 20, I got an audition for this band that I had loved all through high school. And it was to be a bass player. And I got the audition, and then I had to make a choice between, staying in school or immediately going on the Vans Warped Tour. And that just sounded way more fun to me. And so I kind of went down that path, knowing that if I did, it was just going to keep going down that path. Like I probably wasn't going to go back to school or anything like that. So I just kept with it. And over the years, kind of just started jamming with people after that band disbanded, and kind of like realized that I could sing. And I kind of knew I could. I was just like shy. And then, jamming with different musicians, they were like, actually, like you're pretty good at it. And so I just kept going with that and didn't expect to be the front person of any band. But I really, really love to write and to kind of develop my abilities in singing and kind of find my voice. And I think finally I can say that, that's always evolving, but I think I understand what it's doing now. So that's kind of how that all unfolded.
Well, life is growth. I mean, until you go through certain experiences and circumstance, you don't know how you're going to react, how you're going to move forward after it, how you're going to utilize that new power and skill. And it's like, even for me, I mean, part of the reason why I moved to Canada was because I needed a complete reset in my early 20s. I had some pretty horrible things happen to me when I was 10 years old. And that's why, again, I love the lyrical content of Spare Parts of Broken Hearts. I love how open you are about where things have come from. And that's, for me, what I always gravitate towards, is what is authentic and speaks to me. And so I moved to Canada to try and just shed the multiple personalities, figure out what the main one was, because I knew he was in there somewhere, shake everything away, and then find that grounding.
Hmm.
And even in the last 10 years of being in commercial radio, and then the last 2 years of stepping away to push my passions to the max and to build what was that, and to try and build what I feel is a true modern rock station, and learn all these new skills that maybe doors weren't open to or able to walk through before for variable reasons.
Yeah.
But do you recall certain moments? Because I can always think back, like I don't necessarily, I have to verbalize everything. So I verbal diarrhea, that's very helpful for a career that involves talking. But
Totally.
I note down a lot of small victories, a lot of positive moments that I can look back on and reflect on, and try and put myself back in that moment to utilize the power of the warmth of it to move forward and keep growing. All that context aside, Sarah, there's got to be some moments through that Vans Warped Tour, playing bass, then afterwards when the band's done, that you realize, shit, this is what I will do. And it's not
Hmm.
necessarily the path that I was going to walk down originally, but I'm being veered back to that yellow brick road, per se. What are
Yes.
some of those moments that you were like, oh, fuck, Sarah, you've got, I can make this next step?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that's really beautiful that you do that, that you revisit those things. I think that's important. I think it's what keeps us going. if you can reference those small or big things that impact you and others, like you have that to build on, you know? We're always looking for that. That's what hope is.
Yeah.
um, but to answer your question, um, I feel like, you know, very honestly, like I do that all the time. Um, I'm always reflecting. Sometimes, you know, depending on the climate of how life is going, like I want to quit all the time. And I think in my mind and sometimes even in my heart, I do, because it's not easy to do, you know, what all of us are doing. And you want to get to a place where that's sustainable. Um, but that being said, like my spirit doesn't quit. There's something, I just don't even know what else I would be doing. Like being a performer and being able to capture, you know, the good and bad, small or big things that happen in life has been so healing for me. And so I just keep serving and honoring that relationship that I have with music. And I try to not get caught up in what it's supposed to look like. And that's not for like lack of action. Like I definitely understand, you know, this is a business and there are things to be done, but I try to keep a really good balance of that understanding. Um, and some of the moments in history were, you know, they were moments when I just wasn't sure if I was going to pull it off. And then somehow I did. And no matter what you're doing, I think for most people, that those things are monumental to building your character and your confidence, and then you keep building on those things. And you know, for me when I was 19, it was getting on a stage. I had never done that before. And then, you know, to follow that, I had a solo career, and I had never played alone before and been a singer. And you know, in starting Spare Parts, I've throughout the years gone through different bandmates and different situations and played huge shows and really small shows. And I think all of it matters. But for me, I know when I have those moments, and honestly, like the show you were asking about a couple weeks ago was one of those moments. And I didn't need anything in particular. I just realized I was very present that night, and I realized how important my role was to the band and myself, and especially to the audience. Like, I really honor that people show up and spend their money and spend their time, and they open their hearts when we, you know, when we put on a show. Like, not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to be vulnerable in a room full of people. And I just keep refining that space and try to make people understand that when they're in that space in front of us, that that's what we're doing. We're just being honest. And if something's hitting you, like that's my goal. And it's not to glorify me. It's to help someone feel how I felt when I listened to my favorite artist. Like someone understood me, you know, and that's what those are the big wins for me, when someone comes up and says like, I get this. And to me, that's like, those are the moments that you're asking about.
Yeah, big time. It's that's always fascinating though from all the shows that I've been to. The first thing that comes to mind when you say that is you've got your introverts and your extroverts. You've got the people that will say, "Hey, here's what this is about," and etc., touching on what you've just shared, so not to repeat it. Then you've got those that don't say anything and just allow the process to be. And then in the middle is that performer that is aware of how open they are, aware of the authentic energy they're trying to create, and then maybe is on the edge and shouts, "Can you all just shut the fuck up?" I mean, that's the thing that comes to my mind in seeing some of these viral clips the last few weeks of like people trying to stitch up Lord for seeming like a horrible person when it's the thing that she's done at shows for 5 or 6 years to have a little sing with her audience.
Yeah.
Have as and I don't ask that as a trip up question, but just have you ever been on stage and felt like saying, "What the fuck, guys? Hello," or do you've always just gone out and been like, "This is it," you know? Don't read too
Um,
much between it.
like, what do you mean when you say like me asking what the fuck guys specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question to retort on my question that was a loose one, which is just
It's
a sense
okay.
of like, because for me, it's not. I analyze the shit out of everything. So when I asked you not long ago about are there any particular moments, you've said, well, no, everything is analyzed every day. I'm constantly doing that. And
Mhm.
so it just makes me wonder to try and get into your mindset a little bit more in those moments where things are weaker and you're not as strong as you might be. How do you fight those urges, or have you said, "Oh my god, guys, just can you fucking listen to this song because it means a lot to me," or right? Not a trip
um,
up, just a genuine trying to understand the mindset.
yeah, yeah. I can't recall. I mean, I think I've definitely thought that. Um, but I think for me, it's like more of an internal battle. It's always me versus me in those moments. And like, it's funny because I always compare performing and being in a band to being a basketball player. So like I'm really heady, and so the best moments that I have are the ones. The reason why I rehearse religiously, like I drill these songs with the band, and that's just the way we've always been. Is because I'm so heady. I want to be able to escape that and just feel what I'm doing, which I'd say like the majority of the time that's what happens. And that's why I'm so addicted to performing. It's like, oh, cool. I can just like float through this and push energy and receive energy. Um, but I think specific to what you're asking, it's always me versus me. Like I'm looking, so I was a point guard as a basketball player, and that's a very intellectual look ahead position to play. So you're always like, looking at the other players' weaknesses and you study them, and so you can run your play based on their weaknesses. And for me, like I know what mine are. Like I've struggled with depression for most of my life, and I could have a show coming up, and there's been days where I'm just like in bed, and I'm like, how am I gonna get up there and do that? I could totally get into that whole cycle, but I think I don't really ask anyone else to kind of hold me up in those moments. It's something I've dealt with for a long time, and I just do it anyway. And sometimes that's easy, and we float through the set, and it feels amazing. And sometimes I have those little moments where I'm like, "Oh, that wasn't perfect," or "That person's not paying attention." But I'd say that those are not hauntingly showing up all the time. But yeah, I don't expect anything when we go up there. Like I just like to do the best that I can. It's like I said, me versus me. Like always be bettering what I did before, and hopefully like that hits people the way it does. I've never specifically been like, I really need this from you, because I don't know. I don't think it's anyone's responsibility. Does that answer your question?
It does. That gives everyone that's here right now a brilliant inkling into how your mind works, Sarah. No, there's
Yeah.
no nothing to trip on because it's the same as me. Like my parents always raised me. Well, it's not the same, but it inspires my retort, which is that my parents always raised me to learn as many skills as you could, but try and become indispensable in a workplace or in a community, and lean on people to learn what you don't know.
Hmm.
And I know that from my moments when the band I used to be in before we had to stop due to a mental health reason of one of the members,
Hmm.
is that, and I play drums. So I'm the kind of drummer and musician that I stare into the souls of people. Like I'm going to leave an impact and I'm going to absolutely destroy this kit, but I don't expect you to be on the same level. But I certainly give you the eye of inspiration, like, let's fucking go now.
Yes.
And I know multiple times through every show we ever played, I would be having that battle in my mind of that was too fast, that was too slow, this little fill wasn't quite there. And I've
Hmm.
always been someone that's been accused of seeking perfection when I know that perfection is not a reality. I'm just trying to be up at that bar underneath it the best I can and holding myself accountable, period,
Yeah.
always. Like it doesn't, that I don't allow a drop off. Anyone that knows me very well, and the wonderful wuzzers that are in our little private chat right now, they know how much pressure I put on myself
Yeah.
to be the best I can every day. And
Hmm.
my outlook has been, since I moved here, I'm not trying to make giant strides of improvement each day. I'm just trying to match what I did the day before, just trying to keep
Yeah.
that consistent level. That's the outlook here. So I appreciate the point guard talk, and let's fucking dive into sports then. What's the basketball team? Who was the favorite player way back when?
Oh gosh, Michael Jordan. in the 90s
Yeah.
era of the Bulls, hands down. I don't really watch pro basketball because I feel like they're so good at what they do that it gets kind of boring to me. Like nobody's running plays. They're just like, give me the ball because I can do what I do, which is cool. Um, Occasionally, I'll watch like women's college basketball because they are actually running the plays, and it's just a different feeling than watching men play basketball. Like I feel like women in a lot of things are always starting as an underdog, even if you're really great at what you do. Like we don't have the same expectations between the genders. So I like to watch it just because they run plays. But yeah, as a grown up, there's like not a whole lot of room for women to play basketball as adults. So I don't really do it much anymore. But definitely Michael Jordan and the Bulls have always been my favorite.
How can they not? I mean, I'm a Raptors fan, so Nick Nurse, he runs some plays, and especially after losing a few main players after the championship, he's proven we're just getting him in contention for the playoffs this year. Even though it was obvious we were going to fall, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting though how all these sort of the last, I would say, decade or so in most sports, it's become hang your hat on that guy, and
Hmm.
it's taking away, like, even through the pandemic. I love sports, and I always was told, if you could just remember a bit more about history and math rather than all the soccer, rugby, and everything in between scores. But I
Yeah.
just feel that during the pandemic, especially, it became, when they removed fans, it was strange watching games, and then just having like the one or two players. And I think what proves that is Lionel Messi going to PSG in the world of football and soccer,
Hmm.
is that everyone expected him to walk into this lesser league than Spain or England or Germany and just destroy. And
Uh-huh.
it just goes to show that there's got to be a system. You can't just throw all these people together like LeBron and the Lakers. You can't just
Right.
bring Westbrook in and think that, with Davis as well, and is he going to play? Isn't he going to play? And
Yeah.
it's just there's no system there. That's
Yeah.
why it's not worked. It's
Right.
just a selfish collection of humans trying to win.
That's right. That's it.
It's not a team.
Yeah, it feels like pop radio to me, where I'm just like, okay, I get the
Yeah.
formula. Yeah, I see. And it's not all bad. Like I'll listen to it or I'll watch that game, but like there's more importance than what's being shown, I think, or glorified.
It's a bummer that there doesn't seem to be much accessible to you. You would think in LA, and there'd just be so many community teams or some sort of situation for you to get involved in, even just to do a fun, not so serious. It doesn't got to be a professional league.
Yeah, well, there's always pickup games, but like I don't want to generalize. Every situation's different, but in my experience, I'm tiny. And so when you're tiny, the only way to get good at basketball is to either, be able to shoot really well or be really fast. And so when I walk on a court full of dudes that are playing on like a Sunday, it's
Right.
aggressive, like I'm getting elbowed, and I was really surprised at how often everybody's just like fouling each other, and it's just a different game, and there's no plays. I like running the plays. Like I like the intellect of game.
Yeah.
So as fun as it is, I just like I don't need an elbow to the eye, or like you know having to calm
Well,
a,
you don't want to be part of someone's fucking TikTok today about how they
yeah,
destroyed this person on the ball field
that's right.
or the
Yeah.
court. It's like, I've only been to LA once. I went down, one of my best friends that I first lived with here when I moved a decade back. Well, I mean, it's nearly 13 years now here, but when At the Drive-In got back together for the Hollywood Bowl show,
Yeah,
had to go to that. So
of
came
course.
down and stayed with Brandon, one of my dear friends, for a few days. And I said, the first thing we got to do is I got to go to the Rainbow Room and try and sit in Lemmy's seat. That obviously they're not going to let me sit in, but we got to go there
Yeah.
and pay an extortionate amount of money just to get in there, and then
Uh-huh.
be like, I don't want pasta right now. We're going to leave.
Yeah.
And then take me to the beach. I want to see where all these flexing specimens are that are just, and that's what it just
Yeah.
strikes me as, is that you get these little pockets of culture that are just about, someone notice me. Look at my
Oh
dunk,
yeah.
look at my muscle. And I ultimate respect to someone that's got the passion to get in shape or to play like that. But then that's where I get confused sometimes. It's like, but do you want to have an enjoyable experience, or do you just want to treat this like it's a scouting mission for someone that you have no idea if they're even going to watch you or not?
Totally. Yeah. No, I hear you. And I mean, I feel like if you're paying attention, everyone has that impression of LA to some degree, no matter what. So you were on the west side, like, and the west side, like, okay, so being in a rock band, especially being me fronting a rock band, it's like the west side is like kind of considered a graveyard to rock and roll music at this point. I know it had like very important glory days in our history, but the east side is like all the indie bands and the people like myself that are playing music and sticking together and doing shows. But if you're a rock adjacent or rock band and you go play on the west side where all those things feel like that, like, man, you like can lose your street cred real fast. And so I don't go, I mean, I'll go over there. I was over there yesterday, but we don't really play when we've been asked to play like the Whiskey or Viper Room, Rainbow Room, whatever. I just sort of, I don't know. I think I respect the time that it had, but it's just not the same. And that was one of the ways that I felt about LA in general. It was like sometimes I walk around here and I just see what people are doing, and no shame, like live your life and like put all your shit on TikTok if that's what you think is important for you. But like it's everywhere. And like that's why I love Long Beach so much, because you just walking down the street and you can have like a chill conversation, or someone will say hi, or like you have a moment with people, you interact, and I find it's much different here, and I'm always readjusting to that. Um, Thankfully, the East Side music community, I feel very welcomed, and I do have those moments with people that are here. But in general, LA is really fucking weird, you know.
That's so fascinating because every band that I've spoken to that have lived and worked out of LA for at least 2 years plus have said exactly what you just said. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you've all got together and written a fucking bio
I probably
to
know the
share
people
in,
you're talking to then.
right? Like it's so fascinating because if you're an outsider and you come in and you don't know, right? And so many people flood to LA as this epicenter of creation, and you're saying that just by being in and around, it's just that's what's so fascinating is everyone's just trying to get it. And then if you don't know, you could play one show that then all of a sudden means that you're not going to get looked at for an awful long time
Yeah,
until maybe what? You go to a club and say, I'm sorry, I played that space. Let me in here. Like, how
totally.
would you fix that? I mean, have you had any issues like that where someone said, well, I've seen you do this. I'm not sure if you're our kind of thing. Has that happened in your time in LA or not? Because you've already been
Um,
privy to that.
I think kind of on that subject is like, so because I guess we're a heavy rock band. Um, there's still this like kind of I don't know if you call it fear or like hesitation with a band like mine. It's like we could probably play the West Side all the time, but the kind of shows I'm being asked to do are with like more they're rock bands that it's glorified that there's a woman in the front, but she has to look really fucking sexy if the music is heavy. So it's like the only kind of rock band you're supposed to be if you have a girl in the front is someone that's selling sex, plus all the dudes in the band are like really fucking heavy. That way the guys that are watching it are like, "Oh no, 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 this is cool." Like that girl's hot and these guys are, they're fucking heavy. And so, I don't fit that quota. And I'm okay with that. So I can't say that we've specifically been, you know, um, shamed for coming from this DIY spot to playing, the Lodge Room or the Echo. I feel like we've been very welcomed. I just kind of pay attention and know what not to get myself into, um, because I don't care about that shit. Like,
Yeah.
if the music's good, great, but it just, we get asked to do a lot of those kinds of shows, and I'm like, are you paying attention? Because I don't think that that's gonna work in our favor, so you just got to be careful. I don't care if someone wants to book us in their backyard and there's going to be a bunch of people that are open. I'll do that. you know that being said, I think it's important to know your worth too, and I find that the smaller venues respect bands and what they're trying to do, and sometimes the bigger venues, it's like, you get lost in the shuffle, even though you still play there and you sell it out, which is what happened a couple of weeks ago. um, it doesn't matter specifically as much to them. They're just like looking at the numbers. um, But again, I don't care. I'll play to anyone who is open and wants to be there and show up, and it's worth our time, and we can reconcile what it costs us to do it, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. Three things that makes me think on. Number one, I adore how much you analyze the shit out of everything.
It's
Number
torturous, man.
two, well, it is torturous because I don't think you sleep. Probably I don't sleep much. You might not sleep much either, but because it's
Not at
constantly
all.
just going over. I was saying to my partner Jody last night, like I just lay in bed for 2 hours and just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Considering a variety of things that aren't really very important right now. Just like my brain going, "Hey, remember this that meal you wanted to make?" Or, "Hey, remember that question you had for so and so?" Or, "Hey, remember this part of the website you could tweak?" And it's like, okay, cool. I just want to go to bed now. That's great.
Totally.
But the other thing is then two stories that reminds me of is when I spoke with a band called Low Lives, who you might or might not know from being in and around LA, that I
I
think are
don't.
absolutely brilliant. If you don't, I will email you some songs. They
Okay.
are wonderful guys. I think your two bands would be a fucking hell of a show. I mean, they're
Great.
just a real stand and deliver rock band. Lee, the lead singer, shares lyrically from the heart. It's just a very, 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 very good band. I'll say
Cool.
very, probably, I think that's probably about 8 times. And they had told me a story about, and I'm pretty sure, but I'm not going to just guesstimate and try and remember right now because it could have quite a repercussion. There was a venue on that side of LA that refused them water. So they were playing a show, and the stagehand said, "You don't get water," to Luke the drummer, "because it's not your time yet. You'll get a bottle of water when you're on stage." And he went, "Well, I'm just preparing to go on stage." And he's like, "You don't know the people that have been through this room." He's like, "I know the people that have been through this room, and I don't care about that. I care about here now in 2020 being
Hmm.
able to drink and perform. Do I have
Yeah.
to buy the water? I'll buy the water." They would not give him water. And in another band that I spoke to, who I'll keep stum for now, but I can message you about privately.
Yeah.
I had an amazing chat with them when I launched this a few years ago. And one of the biggest things that I'd observed from being in commercial radio, and to be clear, radio is very powerful. I love it. I've got nothing against AM, FM, Sirius, or online at all.
Hmm.
I just believe that there are certain parts of all systems that are detrimental to the true growth and support of certain artists or creators if we're looking at the world of music. And I had
Yeah.
this amazing conversation with a band that I think are so fucking cool, and we're right on the precipice. The first EP was all right. The second EP, it showed that growth, and it was just a really cool band, fronted by an incredible female vocalist.
Uh-huh.
And I have watched many bands in my career that have gone out and bought an RV for touring. They come back, the tour makes $200. The band's over. They owe 40 grand for an RV.
Yeah.
I've seen bands do everything, and I've been in bands that have done bad investments, whether it's for T-shirts or this or that, or when a
Yeah.
venue rips you off and doesn't pay you and you don't chase them back because you're scared they won't book you again, or when a festival doesn't give you what you sold at merch and you're scared they
Yeah.
won't book you again because they're the only promoter on your entire island in terms of rock
Yes.
and roll.
Yes.
And it broke my heart that this band, we spoke at length about perception versus reality. You've been told by radio stations they don't know where to put you. Are you heavy rock? Are you alt rock? Are you this? That's what they'd said.
Yeah.
And they got a new manager, and I said, if this new manager says you're going to have to go full leather and glam bullshit, I don't know if that's the vibe.
Yeah.
And that's what's been disheartening for Jodie and I now, and Harley, her son, and who's 8, and we adore this band, watching them the last year and a half turn into this, like, music videos. It's just raining, it's just like covered in water, and she's wearing tight leather and pajamas, like lingerie, and it's like, this doesn't fit. It doesn't fit, and it just bums me out so fucking much how fickle humans are,
I know.
that that's the route people feel they got to go to, you
I
know?
know. And of course it has to be raining, you know? It has to. The
Yeah, it
dramatics.
had to be. Oh, and you could just see that it wasn't comfortable. You could tell that this person is like, in their eyes, they're like, I don't want to be doing this, but I have to. And it's a
Yes.
5 minute long song and a 5 minute long video where you're
Oh
like,
my
oh
gosh.
dear.
I know. I mean, the opportunity to feel uncomfortable in this whole process is, I mean, it's always available, you know? It's, you just got to try to find your tribe, you know? Like producers, there's really talented producers here, but they're terrible people to be in a room with. You know, it's like the music can be made and it could be amazing, but do you want to have that experience, you know? So you just, for me, I just try to find, for me, I just like don't look in any direction at what anyone else is doing. And I have accepted that that might be the long way to do this. And I'm okay with that because I don't know how to do anything a different way, nor do I want to, or be something that I'm not. I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm too sensitive for that. And I don't know that that works to my advantage all the time, but I just keep doing it that way. You know, I've been in those situations where I've been asked to do something that is totally not who I am. And, you know, early on, I dealt with that. I went through what I went through. And I'm just at a point now where it's like, okay, this is what I know how to do. And hopefully people are understanding that. And there's enough people that understand it. I just need enough people, you know, like I just need enough people that it's sustainable so I can keep making art and impacting people. That's all I care about. Um, Hopefully, yeah, that doesn't result at any point in not being asked to be rained on in a video because I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. It just goes back to that. It goes back to the word authenticity and being authentic. And one thing that
Yeah.
I've said multiple times in conversations the last 6-9 months is what I've loved about the pandemic, as fickle as that statement might be on first listen, is that it's forced a lot of people into their own room and to figure out how they're going to do it and how they want it to sound. And yes, you can lean and you can learn from producers and everything, but it just takes me back to, again, what I said 20 minutes ago when my parents said, learn everything you can. It's like, that's why I stepped out of commercial radio.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that I'd never go back to it, but it's like, I want to grow. I want to learn. I don't use the word want very often. I usually substitute it for wish. I feel that want can be a bit aggressive, but I want to learn, how do you make really cool websites? How do you do great visual editing? How do you do great this and that production?
Yeah.
Because I've been just doing the turn on the mic and everyone else does everything, you know, other than preparing the show and talking.
Yeah.
Everything's done for me. And I missed that. Like before this started, we were trying to figure out how we even got the audience to watch it. This is the first time I've used Riverside FM.
Yeah.
And I've got all these wonderful wuzzers. There's 10 people watching us right now.
Yeah.
And up until the minute that you arrived, thankfully you were 2 minutes late. And there's zero stress ever, as I've said in emails, whether you're late or not, there's zero stress.
Yeah.
But I appreciate those 2 minutes because I was like going, fuck it, I got no fucking idea. And then just like going through FAQs and Googling and common mistakes. Oh, apparently there's a tablet in the a tab in the settings you just flick to say, allow the audience, even though you think it would be default that anyone could come and watch it.
Yeah, well, while you were doing that, I wasn't late. I was trying to figure out how to turn the fucking thing off.
You were trying to do it too. Hold up, John. Excuse me. I'm downloading the fucking app. I'm out in the park. Okay, do me a favor. You don't know.
Yeah,
but that's why context is key.
Yeah.
But that's what, but that's where my heart goes as well. Is that I would rather, because when I think back to, if I strip it all back, why did I want to be on the radio? You know, I remember driving around with my parents a lot, and my dad would always be singing in his deep baritone voice, Neil Diamond or ABBA or Queen or Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. And I remember one day, because my parents used to have a coach company before we lost that, and then that lost everything. That completely changed everything in my early teenage years. And I've got an older sister who's 7 years older, who's 41 or 2. I just turned 35 a few weeks ago, so I'm just whatever. And my brother's 30, I think, or 31, pardon me. And one day he switched to radio, and a song finished, and on came this person, made me laugh. I was like, what the fuck is that? He said, oh, his job is to talk about songs or make you laugh or entertain you. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And he's just by himself. Yeah, he's in a room by himself. And the context is that when I was 10 years old, as I alluded to at the start of this conversation, my elementary school was having work done on the bathrooms, and we had like sort of cabins put up with porta potties, but in cabins. And trigger warning, but without going into full story, 2 men came in one day when I was in there, and I don't really know what happened for most of it because I was in and out of passing in and out, and they abused me and tried to drown me. And so when I was 10 years old, that meant that, and I know that, and I speak of it so easily now because I've spent 25 fucking years working on it and turning that negative into power. And I don't believe you can forget the horrible things. I believe you can utilize them to make sure you know damn well who you are and how you work.
That's right.
Moving forward, how you treat people.
Yeah.
So it's a bit nonchalant now when I share it, but then a lot of people go, Jesus fuck, like where did that come from? So thanks for riding with that. But that meant that I was always big time I was always a talk a lot, tell joke, try and entertain. But then from 10 onwards, I was diving into the tickle trunk. Like, what am I? What character am I? And that's when I developed multiple different personalities of just trying to go through, okay, well, this person knows this and that person doesn't know this. And this family member knows that, but then the rest don't. And so, you know, people are like, why can't you swim? And why can't you do this? And why are you so fucking hot and cold? And we're trying to figure out what your energy is. And that's why I moved here, right? To ground and to give more context on that.
I see. Okay.
And so to bring it back into my point for radio, I was attracted to that because I could entertain, I could goof out, I could educate, but you wouldn't fucking know who it is. You wouldn't know what I look like. You wouldn't know really who I am beyond what I share. And I absolutely, in my early days, wanted to be famous because I wanted to feel worth something. And so what I chased was that side of entertainment that does my fucking head in now, in experiencing in a small, beautiful town like Victoria and having great success here within its own bubble. It's putrid to me now how people strive to be famous, and I still battle with it now. Like I wish more people noticed these great conversations I have. But the fact is that that's why I removed myself from that energy to push my passion and how I could achieve and what I might achieve with this solo, and then B, taking a step away from that industry where friendships were being harmed after 10 years of, you know, my ratings are better than yours, or why do more people like your Instagram or posts than mine? I'm like, this doesn't fucking matter anymore. It's not about that. And so that's my verbal diarrhea 4-minute share there of further context to just how we can grow into things. And then are we willing to play the game, which all respect to those that are more cognizant of who they are and being in that system, because ultimately these big systems are what can help. But then at the same time, and this clicks back and finishes my point here to what you were saying that inspired this verbal diarrhea share, is that success is what you deem it to yourself. You know, I'm not looking for 1 million listeners. I'm not looking for 100,000 listeners. You know, what I need to survive and do my art and keep doing this is 1,500 monthly supporters. And this planet has billions of fucking people on it.
That's right, yeah.
So it's just a case of building the foundation of Spare Parts of Broken Hearts with that integrity. That is paramount. And then building what was that radio. And then you hope that all the other systems around you with streaming or interviews and this conversation and whatnot bring gradual 1 or 2 people that are like, I get this. I like Sarah. I want to dive into this more. That's what I hope these 10 people watching do, is go, holy shit. There's the art. Then there's the artist who made the art. So I think we should dive into that. Do you mind if we listen to some of these songs?
Oh, sure.
Just little snippets?
Yeah.
Because the first one that I discovered was Cold Wave, which hopefully doesn't fucking deafen us right now. Is that coming through for you? Okay. Just lying in the park, listening to your own song.
I've never done that before.
No one else knows it. Yeah, no, you look calm and collected. That's good. I'll be fucking like, this is awkward, but okay, we'll roll with it. We'll continue.
No,
we'll continue. Now, that is why this song spoke to me so much, and you've just had some of the context, is that I was petrified of showers, petrified of my head being underwater, and would cry when it rained in my teenage years. And then when I moved here, I did like this crazy fucking. A friend of mine said, "You've got to do it," and I was like, "I don't know. I have to sign a death waiver to go to this gym in Vancouver and do this like extreme ridding yourself of negative or turning into power." Like I just thought it was all cuckoo, you know, like Eckhart Tolle, Power of
Whoa.
Now. When I first moved here, I wasn't too into it, but it was like it was a room full of people that had been either sexually abused or in car accidents or had a major injury or were just struggling but wanted to
Whoa.
to find that fire within them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a hell of a fucking day that we could speak about for hours. So we won't go into because it's about you today, Sarah, but context is key.
Yeah.
And after we'd done this day, the person that did the class, like, do you know, like, is it Tony Robbins and all these big like coaches and everything? Are you familiar with him,
Uh,
or
yeah.
is it?
I'm like obsessed with all self-help. I heard you say power of now. Like I'm yes.
So it's like it's in that realm where
Mm-hmm.
people are doing their own classes, and this guy was like a guy that had trained with Bruce Lee's family and run a dojo with Bruce Lee's brother or something years ago, and then
Yeah.
moved here, and then I was like, oh my god, okay, well this, do you know what? I'm going to try it because rather than just poo-poo it and be like this is bullshit, I may as well go to it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing that pretty much sets up exactly what this day was, is that when we walked into this, I think it was like a kickboxing gym or something,
Yeah.
there was 30 motherfuckers in riot gear, full riot gear, all around the corner of the room. And then we walk into the room and there's people in their 70s and 80s. There's kids in their, 13, 14, 15. There's me at that point, I was 22 years old. And I walk in a room and I work it. I say hello to everyone. How you doing? A little
Mm-hmm.
chit chat. How you feeling about today?
Yeah.
What are these fucking people in SWAT gear doing here? And then in comes, it turns out the whole time that Satyan, who's running this, was above us, looking down and watching everyone and looking at how the mingling would go. He comes down, sits in front of us and says his introduction, who I am, and things are going to be different today. Things are going to push you to truly be present in the moment, to understand who you are. And I'm sat there going, oh my God, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is whatever, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking know me better than anyone knows me. You can't
Yeah.
change that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he clicks his fingers and he says, John, you're going to have to fight for your life right now. And I was like, is he talking about me? And all these people in riot gear piled on top of me and wrestled me. And he said, if you want to fight, they're not going to hurt you, but they might if you let them. Just show that you want to be released. Just move, just shake, just do anything to get out. Shout, roar. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like shouting, what the fuck is this? Like, get off me, and like pummeling, and just, he's like, you can smash him, you can bash him, they're in riot gear. And I'm just fucking like, that was when I was being held down again. It was like immediately took me back to that moment.
Yep.
That's how the fucking day started. And he said, like, I've chosen to start with you, John, because you walked in here like it's your room. Nothing's yours. Nothing. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, it's not even my room, but it is right now because I hold the power. Who wants the
Right.
power? And I'm like, okay, let's just follow this to see how it goes. And I ended up following that guy to India for a couple of weeks to go to the Kumbh Mela and all these fucking crazy things.
Of course.
But to bring it back to my point, when I listen to this song, Spare Parts Broken Hearts, Cold Wave, for those that recently joined, it takes me back to all the swimming lessons I had to be in, all the times that I started crying when it would rain, when family members might throw me in a bath or a shower and be like, I don't understand why you're scared of water.
Oh gosh.
And this is where I go with music. It's heavy, it's intensive, but it unlocks and it inspires. And I believe you, and this is the key here, is that until it's deemed otherwise, authenticity is what gets me going. And I'm like, this is inspired by, not necessarily at all a similar journey to me,
Yeah.
but something that has taken you to the depth of that flipping anchor you're talking about, being thrown over the boat into the ocean,
Yeah.
to be retrieved and thrown back again.
Yes.
And what do you feel comfortable, Sarah, sharing about Cold Wave?
Ugh, well, I mean, God, honestly, like you just hit a nerve. Like I just got emotional when you were just explaining that song had any, you know, oh, it's just overwhelming to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, well, I don't mean to overwhelm in a bad
No, no,
way.
no, no,
It's
no,
all,
no. I welcome it. I love it. It's just you never know when you make something just for the sake of making it, even selfishly, because you're feeling that in you, like you're in that place. Like I made that song selfishly, and to get out of how I was feeling, or try to deconstruct it, or to own the power within feeling like I had none in it. And to hear that that is your relationship to it is just like, it's just, it means a lot to me. I'll start with that. Um, Cold Wave was sort of something I wrote to myself. I grew up near the beach my whole life, and there's this one part down by my parents' house in Dana Point where it's sort of like there's some cliffs and a lot of rocks, and the way that the water hits those rocks and those edges at night, and the moon, just everything, all of the elements are there. I used to just go sit there in the dark and just hang out. Uh, and I just had this vision of that place and those feelings, and that song came through. And it's a song about just like, what more could you possibly fucking want from me? And it's a it's asking of myself, it's asking of, my own existence, the universe, God, whatever the fuck you serve or try to understand. It's just, like I said earlier, like quitting all the time, and your spirit doesn't lie down, but everything else does. And it's just like, all right, let's keep going. But it's like the hardest thing to do over and over and over again. Like, when does it get easier? Um, and that's why I say, like, I'm holding my breath, like waiting for the relief. But like, there's no relief in the relief, because it's just like wave after wave after wave. And that's kind of what the song's about. Like, okay, I'm going to go walk out here in this space that I spend time in, and I'm just going to throw this anchor, and I'm just going to dive in. And something's either going to completely pull me under, or I'm going to get free of it. Like, and that's how I look at a lot of things, like involving emotions, or like depression or circumstances. It's just like, fuck, here we go. And you either go all the way, or you keep having to revisit that wave, that same wave that keeps coming and takes you out, and then you got to recover. Um, and I wrote that like in a time when I got into therapy again, and that was very life changing for me. Actually, like, tattooed this little me, if you could see it, with therapy.
Yeah.
So that song is kind of like just about that process of getting in there as far as you can, holding your breath long enough, and then coming up for air and hoping that the anchor is still not attached when it's involving the specific thing you're working on.
That's the joy of music. It's therapy for the creator, and it's therapy for the soul that initiates contact with it, and how they portray the creator to have written it. It's always going to be the way with any song. Even the tripe that 38 people write for a pop artist, is there's going to be something in there that someone gravitates to and then says, this is me. Yeah, this is what I'm about.
That's right. Or it's a memory,
Yeah. Jody, my partner last night, who was making a playlist of her teenage years, and I come back in to go to bed, because I have a big spliff before bed to try and shut down, and that's it. I quit drinking years ago, but still very much am on that train, and came into her just being like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much Rise Against were my world 15 years ago, and all these different things. I'm like, oh man, that takes me down memory lane. Just it's amazing how you can, as we were discussing last night, you might not have listened to a song in 15, 20 years, but then when it comes on, it's not necessarily the song that you gravitate towards first. Speaking for me, it's the memory of that night, or that party, or that show, or that event, and then everything else filters through. And it's incredible, because I've been worried lately about, am I fucking going senile? Like, am I forgetting things? Have 20 years of smoking weed mean that I can't remember what I did 20 minutes ago? But then when these memories pop up, and we're listening to music from our youth, it's like, no, fuck, I do not. Oh, I didn't want to remember this, but my memory still works.
That's right. That's right. It's like built in somewhere, and then it just gets triggered. I know what you mean completely.
It's like the iCloud, why are you saving all this shit? I don't need all this saved. And then 6 months later, like, I'm so glad I took this picture of this shopping list to remember the product I got for the protein shake.
Totally.
Anyway, just speaking from my own win there. Let's listen to a
Yeah.
little bit of Mush.
Okay.
This chorus is so good.
Thank you.
Now, what's interesting about this then is that when it comes to Cold Wave that I jumped into first, that's my introduction, that came out 2020.
Hmm.
Whereas Mush is the fourth release, Say When in 2014, Pleasure Delay 2016. I am, to be clear, reading this off of fucking Spotify, just so you don't think I'm some wizard of knowledge. Ever in 2017, and then Mush. So for me, I felt a connection between Mush to Cold Wave. Is that what you've just unlocked with the fact that you went back to therapy for Cold Wave, or am I a bit off here?
Wait, so what specifically are you asking me?
Well, I'm just feeling that sense of you addressing yourself and a circumstance of being like, no, 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 let's stay true to, you know who you are, Sarah. And then now
Hmm.
that you share what you did about Cold Wave, it kind of makes me feel that those two have maybe a cousin or connection here.
Ah, that's interesting.
Doesn't doesn't
Yeah,
doesn't need to. Just a guess.
yeah. No, so Mush was written when I needed therapy. Um, and I didn't have it. I was engaged and I was going through a breakup and oh my gosh, I was just trying to figure out what the fuck I was gonna do in general. Like I knew I had spare parts, but I was living in Long Beach and I was thinking I was gonna move here and I was getting out of my relationship and I had met someone new and Mush, the reason it's called that is because it's just kind of like a culmination of all the feelings at one time for that situation. And it's funny because it's like the song that everyone always is like, oh, Mush, that's the song. That's my favorite one. And for me, I like intentionally made it sound like happy. And it was probably like one of the worst times in my entire life. Um, and so when I talk about like medicine, like it was a moment where it was like, I felt like, and I don't look at things as much this way anymore, but the karma of what I had done in the past or not done was kind of like a taste of my own medicine at this point. It was like, here you go. This is going down. Like choke on it. Like here's everything that's coming back to you. And yeah, that was a really really tough. It took me months to get those lyrics. I just knew that I had a good melody. I just could not focus. I didn't want to feel what I was actually feeling. I was trying to intellectualize it, and so that's just like I said, a culmination of a bunch of like random notes or lines that I had written down, and I just sort of put them all together, and then it created a story. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like everything confusing is in this song. So that was kind of the precursor to therapy and actually addressing myself and actually feeling the things that were hurting instead of trying to make a plan on how to get out of it.
That's what's so delicate though when you're trying to heal and you're trying to release. Just to hone in a bit more on your search for the lyrics, were there struggles that you didn't wish to necessarily reveal, or what do you mean by it took some time to get to the lyrical
Um,
finish line?
like usually, I always write the song first. I'll hear a hook and I don't really know what it's saying yet, and then I'll sit with it and it'll just be kind of in my subconscious for a while until that hook, that line comes, and then I go in and I develop the song around it. And for some reason, usually once I have the skeleton of the song and the main line, then the verses are just easy to kind of channel and expand on that hook. And usually that process happens pretty quickly, but I think I was so immersed in what I was going through that it's like one day I would get up and I would play the song and I would hear like, all right, maybe I'm hearing this line, or maybe I'm hearing this lyric, or maybe I'm feeling this feeling, and just like I couldn't clearly access what I was trying to capture about what I was going through. And so in the end, months later, I just sort of went and like, okay, this one says build a bridge, burn it down together. Like, okay, that makes sense because that's exactly what I'm doing. Like, I have this home with this person, and here I go. I'm gonna move to LA, and like, I got to burn this one to make this one. I got to go across, and then another, 2 months later, I'll look and it says like Novocaine, numb this way forever. It was just like that in my mind captured exact, like I could not access anything that was gonna hurt too much. So I just kind of went through and put all the lines together, and I was like, oh, there is a theme here, it's the resistance of wanting to go into this, and that's not usually how it goes.
The natural resistance for the song that required resistance to learn of the resistance to
Yeah,
dispel and utilize the resistance.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, life is repetition. Yeah,
Hmm.
sure. No, but the sass aside, yeah, no, it's fascinating because for me, I get so bent out of shape if my energy isn't in the right mode. And so that's why I try and not set too many goals for myself because I put so much into everything
Yeah.
that if one little thing happens that then changes my energy, it will throw me into a funk and it will take me an hour or so to ground.
Yeah.
And then you look at the list and go, shit, I've got all this stuff. And that's why I try and dispel lists to just work on being present to then be able to attack certain tasks or complete certain tasks without having that extra layer of pressure that is just always there with me personally. But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you just got to come to and fro. And I only ask that to, again, expand on how you go about doing things. It's fascinating. It's like sort of, you can have bands like Tool and Maynard's like, well, you fuckers just get everything ready and then I'll come in and see what it inspires lyrically.
Yeah.
You've got people like, Kurt Cobain of Nirvana saying, look at all you pricks dancing to my song about, my world sucks. And you all
Yeah.
think it's a celebration. But that's what's just so interesting, right? Again, is it's down to the individual. They're going to take on like, here we are now. Yeah, let's jump up and down. This is great. Or right. Oh, look, oh, we're dancing a spare way. What is this? There's spare parts. I love this song. It's so happy. Well, do you know what it's about? The next door neighbor in the venue is saying. Do you know what this is about? Though I'm dancing because I'm fucking with this powerhouse and what she's gone through.
Yeah.
And it's just that's what's so fascinating about music.
Yeah. I
You
think you
just
have
can't predict anything.
no, and you have to be okay with that. Like, I honor that that is my thing that I do while I'm here. Like, I create something that lives on longer than me, and I honor that once I release that thing, it's not mine anymore. It's like you can ask me where it comes from, but it's yours. Like, Cold Wave is yours. You listen to that without talking to me, and it does what it does for you, and I'm very okay with that. I really enjoy that's how this works, because I remember feeling the ways that I did when I heard the artists that made me feel that way, you know?
Who were some of those ones?
I mean,
You mentioned some earlier, but to expand on it a bit.
yeah, I mean, I hate at this point, like, I know Nirvana is like a clothing brand at this point, it's just like, it's hard to even, when people ask me, like, well, who's your influences? It's like, of course Nirvana is. Like, Nevermind was monumental in my history. Like, first time I heard that song, I I had a terrible day. Like, it was a very, very bad day. It was my first attempt at suicide when I had heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit." It was in the same 2 or 3 days. I think I I had heard that song on the radio, and then that happened, and then it wasn't even a week later I went and, of course, had my parents take me to the record store to buy the record. And it was that record that made me feel that even if I was all alone, like someone was seeing me. Um, so I can't get away from ever saying that Kurt Cobain and Nirvana had the impact that it does, because it really does. And I love that people make that comparison a lot, not in general with just like the way we sound, but with me specifically. They're always like, Kurt Cobain, you must like him. It's like, yeah, I very much do. So I'd say Nirvana and Kurt. um, I always loved the Smiths. Can't stand Morrissey as a human being. It's very unfortunate he's the way he
It's a
is. But
delicate balance. Yeah.
uh, I know. But growing up with them, there was something so sad about who he was, and the way that Johnny Marr would create those like jangly melodies to accompany what he was saying and how tragic he was. I just love anything that has that dynamic. The same with Nirvana. It's like soft, heavy, and then, in emotion, the Smiths are that way too, where it's like upbeat and everyone's dancing, but it's like this tragic person, just, whatever he's doing. And sometimes I'm like, I can't believe he put that the way that he did in a song. It's so like self-serving, but like there's something about it that just, I can listen to the Smiths when I'm happy or sad. That's why I love them so much. It's like I can connect to the escape of the guitar and how great the songs are and how relatable they are, like musically. And then there's days where I just listen to what he's saying and how he's delivering it. um I also really love Portishead. Not like a huge influence, I'd say, on our music, but there's something special about Portishead that hasn't, I feel like trip hop bands and other trip hop artists have tried to recreate, and nobody has captured the specific magic that they did with the record Dummy. I just absolutely love that record. And I think as far as like any influences, Jeff Buckley has a huge influence, like vocally, um, and how just intimate or vulnerable he is in his voice, and then the songwriting that the short-lived career that he had. I absolutely love Jeff Buckley's voice.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think. I mean, my partner and I, Jody, we have so much Nirvana stuff that it's probably out of focus behind you. It's everywhere. I remember very clearly hearing when I got sent to a boarding school when I was in my early teenage years, and I remember someone's coming back from a shopping trip one weekend and being like, "Have you heard this yet?" And it was Nevermind, and putting it on the CD player in the sort of common room, and then everyone had gone upstairs to watch a football game, and I just sat there by myself and listened to this and was like, "Holy shit!
Yeah.
This is transmitting." And
Mm-hmm.
then discovering Linkin Park and
Mm-hmm.
Linkin Park, those first three records, literally Chester Bennington. It was like to me, it felt like he was describing my life most of the
Yeah.
time, like the
Yep.
depths of difficulty with friendships and connection and the abuse and the hidden energy around that and sharing this, but you still don't really know. And I was like, I fucking know what this guy's talking about. Like
Yeah.
that was everything. And the Nirvana night, until you said your experience and your attempt, that reminded me of one of my attempts when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it was at that school, and it was after listening to Nirvana that I
No
went for a
way.
walk and found my spot, and it didn't, I mean, still here now, here we are. But it's just so fascinating. It's just so fascinating how someone that has become so huge and speaks to so many, that even then we still felt alone enough to go and do something that might mean that was it. That
Yeah.
fascinates me. No?
I know. Totally.
Because there's so many connected to that common thread of shit. Life is shit sometimes,
Yep.
but yet you still don't feel you can make the next step. It's
I know.
fascinating. Human
I
beings are
know.
fascinating.
Yeah, for better or worse, huh?
Okay, let's listen to a little bit of what have I done so far. Let's
You're,
do Big Win. I haven't done Big Win. Did I?
no.
No. I definitely, side note, want to touch on whether it's the same producer for these three or four, just the journey of the nerd technical side of it, because man, the wall of sound that's produced here, and I know that I listen to things 30 times over again, and I analyze every layer, every instrument, every line, everything.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to make this sort of rock and roll sound a fucking mess. And none of your
Oh yeah.
songs from right the way back through sound like a mess. Everything is balanced just right. The bass isn't overlocking on the low end of the guitar with the kick, with the snare, like everything. So I want to get
Yeah.
nerdy about that as well. The best you want to
Yeah.
dive into it. But let's listen to a bit
Yeah.
of Big Win.
Okay.
They say the devil was once an angel. Tell me the story from a different angle. It's true, all that I've done for you. It's true, all that I've done for you. Are you the candy? Are you the stranger?
Can you remind me the park you're sat in right now?
This is Elysian.
Legion?
Elysian.
Elysian. Okay, people of Elysian, you're listening to Spare Parts of Broken Hearts with Big Win, okay? Just so we're clear. All right.
The shelter, are you the danger? It's true, all that I've done for you. You can't take back all that I wanted from you. You
It's just great. I honestly, there's not a bad song that you've written or released so far. Everything is so powerful. It's so well produced and put together.
Thank you.
And if we can start on that production side of it, where do you want to start with that? Do you team up with people? You were talking about an hour ago about particular crews and producers, or is it just you?
Well, Cold Wave, of the three you've played, Mush and Big Win were the same producer, and then Cold Wave was a different producer. I had known the producer who did Mush and Big Win for years, and we did like a few releases here and there together, and then I had contacted him when I was ready to do some more spare parts stuff. And he comes from like same background, like post grunge era, understands that you have to create a lot of room for guitars when you're working with, mixing. It's can be a nightmare because of all the balancing that you have to do when guitars are like your main focus. So yeah, we worked on those two songs together, and then the record that we're currently working on, we had started to kind of dive into that. I had written all the songs for, and I feel like we kind of just grew apart with what we both wanted for a spare parts record, because we've yet to release a full length. And we went back and forth, and I like to be an equal part in the mixing, production. I just feel like as the songwriter, if you have an interest or an understanding of those elements, like I don't know how to engineer anything, but I do absolutely love producing something. I think you should take the opportunity to work side by side with someone. It shouldn't be about ego. It should be about serving the song and making the best possible thing you can make. And I think him and I making a record was so important to both of us that we both felt very strongly about the things that we felt. And he really wanted to lean on the whole grunge idea and the grunge influences. And I really felt like Spare Parts had more potential than that. I felt like it could be um, more expansive, kind of like the difference between listening to um, like what would be what's the In Utero, or the difference between that and like listening to a Perfect Circle record. Um, there's elements that I like call it sounding expensive, and what I mean by that isn't the amount of money we're spending. It isn't the producer. It isn't the gear. It's just the way that you refine the tones and sounds and moments of songs like these, where you create space and let things breathe, and then when things need to, kick you in the face, then they do. And so he wanted to take more of like a Albini approach to things, where it's like big room sounds for drums, and I wanted to get more up front and like in your face, like more like a Deftones sound for drums. And I don't know if anyone can follow what I mean by that, but it was really important for me to kind of make a more mature sounding Spare Parts, as opposed to sticking to the whole let's lean on the grunge thing. And it's like I see it as let's come from that, because those are our roots, and I love that style, and I love those records, and I love the culture of that. But what you were saying earlier about, well, where are we going to put you? Like, are you alt rock? Are you this or that? And like, there's that whole system where it's like, that was being brought into the conversation too. And I was like, look, I don't know. But if I want to like make Spare Parts go this direction, like, and I don't get things as a result of that, I don't really care. Like, I can't care about that. I just had a more clear vision of what I wanted. And that's then when you hear Cold Wave, we switched producers for Cold Wave, and I expressed all this to him, and he works in the pop world. So that was an interesting change for us, because he's so used to making a vocalist sound so, expansive and beautiful and like pristine. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but like, leave my grit in there. Leave the parts where I crack. Leave the parts where I don't maybe got it like you expect me to. And leave that guitar a little messy and lean into the feedback. So we had to develop this relationship where we spoke the same language essentially. And Cold Wave was the first release that we did together, where I felt like, okay, if you want to understand what's going to happen on this record that we're going to make, Cold Wave is kind of like, here's the first thing that is happening.
Oh, I guess I've muted myself. That inspires me thinking about Mike Crossy. Are you familiar with that producer from Belfast? Mm-hmm. So Mike Crossy, mm-hmm. When I was talking with Nothing But Thieves a few years ago, they were addressing how in the early stages it's all them. And then as suddenly they exploded into the consciousness of the mainstream, they're like, okay, we can pick and choose who we want now. And they particularly have changed it up until they bumped into Mike. And the reason why they liked Mike is that he is more inclined to, okay, he might put you in a big room like Steve, but he's going to sample everything. And so they make sure that they build a space in an arena that is just, the way that Mike Crossy produces is so fascinating, because he can create these luscious soundscapes, but then flip it on a head immediately, and you feel like you're underwater. And there's all these hidden little increments. Like what I love about him is that he's got so many little hidden bits and bobs. I enjoy almost like it's a board game when I put on a record that he's produced. I'm like going, okay, yeah, there's that and there's this, and what can I hear that, and what is this? To make sense of it, what that makes me think of with you analyzing the two producers is you want to take that next step of expansion of just trying to play and doing things a bit differently. But then there's, how do you make sure that you have the massive sound, or I don't know, it's that give and take of it. It's I think really, if you've not listened to Moral Panic by Nothing But Thieves, their last two records, and Broken Machine is just such a great record, because there's moments where Mike has reversed and like purposely like almost like dial up internet like a vocal take, but then he's dropped it about 4 layers deep, and so most people won't even know it's there.
I
But
see.
then you hear underneath Connor's voice like sort of like a, that's my
Yeah.
underwater voice, by the way, that I'm
Yeah.
making to that. But it's intriguing. I don't know. I'm not really. There's no central point to what I'm saying here. It's just
Mhm.
making me. It's making the wheels turn and think about all the different ways that you can produce things.
Yeah.
And to dive back into you, Sarah, with that sort of random share, inspired by what you said. How far into this new record are you then? And
Mhm.
with what you've just shared, how has the direction of that creation gone in terms of what you want to try and dive into these new avenues and ways of creating and producing?
Yeah. Well, um, to answer the latter part of that, I don't know. I just really wanted, like, Pleasure Joy was the first time that I really took a swing at co-producing a song for Spare Parts, and it to this day is my favorite production that we released because I wasn't scared to incorporate elements that I thought served the song, and then elements that had influenced me in the music that I love. Like there's a lot of strings and layers in there, and that is kind of a nod to the music that I grew up listening to. Like there's strings in Nirvana, there's strings in Smith's records, and um, for this record, I really let myself like open up to that and sit and refine where moments could elevate, um, because I just liked the way they sounded. It wasn't right or wrong, or it wasn't sticking to this kind of rock band music or this kind of grunge. Like it was just like, oh, wouldn't it be beautiful if one single cello just swelled under this moment to really have an impact on what the lyrics are saying? Or wow, wouldn't it be cool if we just stuck a tambourine here because that's a simple and super common thing to do because it serves the song and that's okay. So we just spent a lot of time doing that. And to answer the first part, making this record, it's like I feel like once it's done, I'm either going to leave this planet because it's just the most important thing I've ever done for myself, or it's going to be the beginning of a new era, and I don't know what that looks like. It has been the craziest experience trying to do this. We started before the pandemic hit. We had to take a couple months off when everyone was quarantined, and then we slowly started going back in. And I had never worked with a producer that recorded drums first, and so he essentially made us fake drums for all the songs. So I went in first and tracked all the guitars. And then Johnny went in and did the bass, and then I came back and did the vocals, and then him and I sat and produced out all the songs on the record. And then it was time for drums. And so keep in mind this is like throughout the pandemic. So I would go in for 3 days and then there would be a scare. So we'd be off for 2 weeks, or then someone would get COVID or someone was exposed. And so it was just this like, I used to feel like it was a nightmare of a situation. But to be honest, like, never again will I have a time in my life where I'm making something like this, where I had so much time to reflect on the choices that I made. And that, for the kind of person I am, and I think you understand this, can be a very bad thing or a very good thing. And I think there were moments where I was overthinking, and you know, when you put something out, it's done. It's just out there. It's over. And so the record that I'm working on now is not the same record that I began working on then. I'm a different person in a lot of ways, and um, a lot has happened, and I hear the songs as a different version of myself. So I'm trying to carefully manage, not getting caught up in that. And that record would pretty much be done and ready for mastering. But also, what happened during this whole thing was that we lost a drummer, and that was due to mental health issues. And, that was a hit that I took. I mean, it's not that I didn't expect it, I was just trying to prevent it for longer than I really should have been. I knew it was coming. Um, but that was a total change in the dynamic. And she had gone in and tracked the drums already. So then I was like, okay, great. I have this record with this person that I have asked to not be in my life anymore, unfortunately, for my own mental health. And now I have this record with that memory and those experiences. And so do I honor that, or do I have to just keep reliving that again once I release this thing that is so important to me? So in the end, I ended up making the decision that we're going to retrack the drums. And we have very recently started working with a new drummer. And that is going to be getting worked out. And we're making dates for recording probably in July. So he's just now starting to dive into the whole record and really understanding what the songs are doing and getting the structures and all that. So this process has like I said, it's either been trying to kill me or it's been trying to like free me from something, because I've never worked harder in my life for something. So I'm excited for when it's actually tangible, which I believe we should have a new single out by like beginning of fall, and then singles to follow and a new record at the start of the next year.
That is an awful lot to try and process and ground on.
Yeah.
And especially during the climate of the last few years, whether there was a COVID-19 breakout or not.
Yeah.
To have that kind of situation.
Yeah.
That hits me right in the middle of the chest as well, because, and we don't need to dive into, you know, the person that, in the reason why the band I used to be in shut down is because one of the members tried to commit suicide, and decided that they did want to live, and so had done an awful lot of horrible things and then made the call to save themselves. And I'm still trying to figure out what that means for me. I love music, and I still don't know if I want to make music, but then I know that I do wish to make music. I do wish to make music, but then there's no answer to it. It's just growing and analyzing and trying to come to terms with and grounding and rinse and repeat, move forward. But I know that I would love to. I text my partner Jody, I think it was 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. I mean, I know that she can hear me saying this in the kitchen, but I was out on a walk at night, and I was like, it just hit me, and I just started like welling up and crying out here that I want to play with these two people that I can't play with. We were a three-piece as well. I can't play with these people.
Yeah.
Because the ramification of that is that then the relationship with the other, who's one of my best friends, is strained. It's not the same, because then everyone's going through it in their own way. That person had previous bands where similar situations had happened.
Yeah. And
it's just like, is that a sign from the universe saying don't do that? And I don't believe it is, because I believe that other person is so talented and so dynamic and so creative that nothing should. And that's so eerie that person I'm going to be hopefully speaking with for the first time in 3 years next week. I'm speaking to you right now, and you're sharing your experience that is completely different but similar.
Yeah.
And the way that you've taken ownership of it and saying, well, I'm going to, there's no disrespect, but I want to replace that drum take. Fascinating. Again, humans, timelines, universe, how these conversations come to be.
I know. I think the solution is just like, if anyone asks me like, what do you need? What do you want? I'm like, I just want you to take care of yourself. If everyone's taking care of themselves the best that they can, or at least trying, then when you show up in these situations, like, the talent's already there. It's all the other stuff that you have to navigate that is, as you're saying, like, very difficult. And it shouldn't be like that. You know, if you love something so much and we're all doing it for the same reason, it's to be free of how we feel all the time. Like, that's a beautiful reason. And when people aren't taking care of themselves, like, outside of that, it's just like detrimental to a very vulnerable space that people get in, you know? We're vulnerable when we're in those rooms together. You got to be careful.
Yeah, that's why I will always get immense anxiety in the half an hour. It's always half an hour before. And I did performing arts school years ago as well. And As soon as I'm on that stage, it's like the real John is unlocked. Like I don't
Yeah.
fear anyone, any motherfucker in front of me.
Yeah.
It doesn't scare me. Now I'm going to drive. If I'm on the drum kit, I'm going to drive you through emotions and energy in
Yeah.
the next however long the set is. But like when the band member who's still alive and was really struggling, the inkling that we got early on was when, you know, I always wear black, so we didn't have big chats about what are you gonna wear for the show. Oh my god, there's no theme. Like we
Yeah.
just, the three of us always were wearing black, so we just wear black. But one night at practice, he came up to me and said, I want to wear a unicorn rainbow shirt for the next show. And the other two of us went, fuck yeah, bud, go for it. Do what you got to do. He's like, I don't know if I can pull that off though. I'm like, okay, well, why? Well, I'm just already so nervous about the show, blah, blah, blah. Open up some conversation about anxiety. We talk about my anxiety, how I try and channel it. He says, right, I'm going to try this, do that. And then on the night of the show, he's just wearing all black. I'm like, where's the fucking unicorn rainbow? He's like, no, no, no. I said, the next show, put that fucking shirt on, under your black button up. You know it's there. They don't. The show after that, undo a button. The show after that, undo a second. The show after that, undo a third. The show after that, undo a fourth, until you're wearing that fucking shirt and you
Yeah.
stand out when we're both wearing black and you're wearing a goddamn unicorn rainbow shirt.
Yeah.
And then the journey that took you to that point will have you in a whole different space of confidence that might not be perfect, but will certainly be more ready for, well, what's next on your list of what you don't think you should be wearing? Uh,
Yeah.
Crazy socks? Wear crazy socks. Whatever, go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
You've just got to, but it's so difficult. It's difficult. Everyone's on their own
Hmm.
journey. How you try and unlock the next step in you. And I'm
Yeah.
not, by any means, am I some fucking perfectly happy everyday soul? That's not the case. That's not the case.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just trying to remember, as we've touched on multiple times through this conversation, trying to remember those moments that brought joy and brought real growth, whether negative or positive, and
Yeah.
remembering who you are to
Yeah.
carry on. I'm doing lots of fucking hand movements like I'm some sort of Oprah Winfrey guest on a Sunday. Anyway, so I really appreciate, Sarah, your time for the last hour and a half here.
Yes.
And so you've basically shared, well, what the plan is for the rest of the year. That's usually where I sort of leave things at the end. I mean,
Hmm.
I could talk for hours and hours and hours, but we've got to get ready to go and get Harley from school in a little bit, and you've got to get ready for work in a few hours.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go right back to the start of this conversation, and
Hmm.
even through the emails and organizing this, and I've got something at 5 and whatever. That's private if it's a date or a job or whatever. But to go back to how you balance, because with me trying to balance what was that radio, like I'm going to go and start stacking shelves in a few weeks' time because I've built the foundation of the station. I believe in it. I believe in the long-term plan.
Yeah.
But, you know, money, whether we like it or not, is needed.
Yeah.
And so how have you found a balance being down in LA, working musician for all these years? What do you do to enable yourself to go into a studio, to have a roof over your head?
Well, I don't know. I look at everything that we have to do. I try to maximize the opportunity to. I won't do anything where I can't be myself. So I'm lucky enough to be able to be myself and make very decent money at doing that, working a job. I've always been in the service industry. I left it for a while and had like a crazy real job and made very good money, but then my creativity and the amount of time I could spend on spare parts was non-existent. So I just quit that whole thing and went back to service when I got here. And I work at this like really weird, like authentic German pub. And I picked it because it's a kind of situation where, oops, I think I lost. Give me 1 second. Ugh, now it's all dirty. Um, when you're a bartender, you know, I love being a bartender, but you take a lot of shit. And it's the kind of place where it's like expected for you that if someone is giving you shit, you could just be like, get the fuck out of my bar. And that's exactly the kind of situation that I wanted to be in. And I really don't have to do that very often, but I like knowing that I can. And it's just a weird place. It's iconic to LA. And I meet and see all kinds of people that are in the music industry and other bands, and it's just like I was hanging out there as a customer, and then during the end of the pandemic was like, well, I guess I should get a job. And just did. And I don't hate my job. I can honestly say that. Like, would I quit it to be touring, 11 months of the year? Absolutely, and I will. But in the meantime, I just look for any opportunity that feels like I can be myself and I can have fun, and I do. I don't like dread it at all.
I think that's what's calling me back to what I did in my teenage years of stacking banana stands and produce shelves. And
Yeah.
for me, especially after having great, very fortunate to have great success in this city, I'm thinking about three things. How do I make sure the family are all good?
Mm-hmm.
The three of us here. How do I also cheekily enable that space and time to create with what I do with What Was That, like you allude to with Spare Parts for Broken Hearts? Number
Yeah.
three, joy. I love talking to people. I
Mm-hmm.
love helping people. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we'll go find the fucking pasta. It's on aisle 7. I don't care that it's not in my district of the produce section. I love doing that. And then at the same time, I could cheekily have some business cards in my pocket and be like, why don't you check out this radio station that I'm doing?
Totally.
Right. It's just, and it just, it warms me to think of, because when I think back to my youth and all the things that you try and do as part of systems at school, like, are you going to go to university when you're 13? You're like, I'm 13. I don't need to go for 7 years. You need to decide now. And I never
Yeah.
went because I was like, no, I don't need this fucking peer pressure to be told where to go because I'm doing this now. I might not be doing that in 3 years.
Yeah.
And so it just clicks back to like, well, by working in a grocery store and saving and getting a discount, a staff discount, 20 to 30%, it's going to help our family
Yeah.
have more affordable food. And it's going to help me tick that box of my extroverted, I want to fucking chat up and talk to everyone and have a great time and grow and learn about who you are and what you're doing, whether you're looking for grapes or cider or anything in between.
Yeah.
And number three, yeah, again, alleviating and also just moving my body around, because I just sit in here all the time, this wonderful, wonderful home, but just getting out and moving. And those are essential for me, is to work the mind, but I need to work the body. Otherwise the mind works too much and then it tries to drive the whole body down flat and just stay still.
Yeah, for sure.
So in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But no, that's sweet. We got a German, whatever it's called, boot bar, pardon me, downtown here. When I first backpacked here 13 years ago, it's the first place my cousins took me to, because they were like, there's nowhere else like this here. But what you're going to see is the true energy of people here in the service industry. And then you can go everywhere else you want, and you'll probably come back here. And that was my watering hole for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Not the boots. I didn't order fucking boots. I might
Yeah,
drink a
I know
boot
that.
worth, but in one glass. I don't need the whole fucking venue looking at me like,
Totally.
oh, is he twisting it on the last part? Oh, they're not all German,
Yeah.
obviously.
I know what you mean though. That's exactly how the place I work feels. It's like it's home, and I love things that feel like that. I love to get to know people and like see the same people and hear their stories, and it's great. It's another way of exchanging with people, and I understand wanting that.
Well, in summary, Sarah, thank you so much again for your time.
Yeah.
Some next steps is, I would love you to email me some bands that you think I might know of that you adore right now. The last 2 or 3 years that have released some awesome fucking modern rock or alternative rock. I'm going to send you a list of bands that we've discussed or I've shared that I think you should look up as well. And then I'd love to do this again when the album's out next year, when it's been out and settled. I'd love to do that again. But also because a big part of What Was That is about trying to connect like-minded people, whether that's musicians or musicologists that love and are galvanized by music. And I would love to have you come back and maybe dive into what I'm doing. Is I'll have a singular chat with a band member or with 2 or 3 members in a band. And then 6 to 9 months later, I bring in 2 or 3 bands that I think would be like-minded, that could be friends, and then in turn help them get into a European market or an Oceania market, or because that's so imperative for bands is to have that plan. And when you're touring and when you're trying to go about making new followers in new towns, I just think, I think that, so if you'd be open to those things, I'd love to do that in the future, because I think immediately you need to meet Low Lives, you need to meet Lee and Luke, who are so wonderful, and 2 or 3 others. There are some great bands.
Okay.
There's so many of my favorite bands out of Norway that I'm obsessed with right now.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna send you a big list. I'm gonna send you a big list.
Please do. Please do. I want you to know, like, I appreciate how much you shared about yourself and like how vulnerable you are, and I hope that your listeners like enjoyed us doing that together. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate spending time with you.
Oh, well, thank you. That's these wonderful souls that are here have been listening to me pour my heart out for a decade and have backed me leaving, everything and going into nothing to build something.
Yeah.
And they hear pretty much the same thing over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cognizant of that, but I also believe in what I've observed in my small world of broadcasting is that people expect an answer with no context, and they expect an answer through product of their placement in that conversation to begin with. And I believe that you need to actually unlock yourself in turn to unlock the guest. And I could have pried on questions like, well, what's the name of this person that you spoke to? But I'm just listening to the fact that you're not saying a name, which leads me to believe you don't want to say a name. So you just got to go, you just got to try and find it and not fucking push. I pushed in the early days.
Yeah.
Like when I interviewed Dallas Green of City and Colour and Alexis on Fire 13 years ago when I first got here, and I was the happy-go-lucky. I was like, oh my God, that's one of my favourite bands. I've gave this on my list of who I want to speak to, like Deftones and Queens of Stone Age and all these bands tattooed on me. If they come, can I speak to them? And I jumped in with just presuming he would answer. And he turned to me and said, I don't fucking owe you shit. Who are you? And I was like, this didn't go well. This didn't go well. And he won't remember that.
Yeah.
He won't remember that, but I do. And I learned that lesson back then. And that's why my way has been, as you know, because I speak a lot, I would speak, if I get 10-minute windows to chat with someone, I will speak for 8 minutes and ask one question. That's just what I've done.
Yeah.
And that's why I love now that we can speak for an hour and 44 minutes and you're willing to listen to me share. And then in turn, for me, I'm selfishly getting, and those watching, incredible fucking context from you. So thank you. Yeah. Simple. Not simple, but simple.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a unique experience, and I thank you for that.
All right. Well, Sarah, go and have a great rest of your day. I don't know how far the walk is from the park, but I hope it's a good walk. And it's a shame that you didn't educate us on all the birds around you, because I know nothing about birds, and they sounded like they were good.
They're just crows.
Just crows? Great. That's fine. Fine by me. All right. Okay. I'm not sure how this works. So if you can back out first, I'm going to learn how Riverside does this. And
no problem.
To the audience that have been here, thank you all so much. But Sarah, thank you. Keep being you.
Thank you too. Yeah, you too. I'll see you soon. Well, I won't see you, but I'll talk to you soon. Yeah. Okay. See ya.
See you on the emails.
Yeah.
Bye. So that was a conversation with Sarah of Spare Parts for Broken Hearts. And if you want to dive into more of those, like with Eric Burton of Black Pumas, of Connor and Joe from Nothing But Thieves, of Electric Enemy to flipping some of the coolest bands on this planet like Wine Lips, Sophisticated Dingo, Psychedelic Porn Crumpet, Spiral Drive and more, please do consider going to whatwasthatradio.com. Simple. Otherwise, whatever you're doing the rest of your day, and as always, please look after yourself. And I hope there's some fun and smiles involved in the rest of it too, because we've got to cherish that positive. Until next time, I appreciate your time, and cheerio.